All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Undiluted Podcast. This is the fourth episode. On this episode, me, myself, JP, and Mr. Mike Simmons.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, on this episode, we will be discussing politics. I know a lot of you people don't like talking about politics. You stray away from the subject. A lot of you don't understand it. A lot of you just can't stand it. But at the end of the day, I mean, it plays a huge role in our everyday lives, whether you realize it or not. So, yeah, it's very important for a lot of us to get up, get out, go out there and vote. And today is the midterms. So, Mike, explain to those who don't quite understand what's going on today. Because a couple of people, there's no need to feel embarrassed. Some people just don't know much about politics, and that's completely understandable. So can you?
Yeah, so I don't completely understand everything, but I do know this particular, even though this is not for the president, the big one, this election is so important. It's called the midterms. It's for the Congress, for the House and the Senate. So you get to vote out senators and congressmen who gives power to the one in the White House. So right now at the current state, the Republicans, they are in charge of the House and the Senate. So it's up to us as voters, which is our vote counts more than ever than now, to switch that power if you want to see a real change and do something about this guy with all this power passing his bills. Or say for instance, he signed a bill about the no travel ban for these Muslim countries. That was due to him having power in the House and Senate. That won't happen if we have more Democrats who were solely against it to, leave people stranded throughout the countries that are Muslims and happen to be Americans overseas. So things like that, we got to get out here and really, push the vote, even if you're not even a Republican or a Democrat, and you feeling some type of way about how things are going on. Even a person in that's in limbo should want to shift the balance off. Even if you want to vote for a non-Republican, that would do a lot. If you solely disagree on what's been going on as far as the travel ban and even the wall, that he's, that the man in charge won the bill all of a sudden.
Exactly. And I would like to point out that even if you are the type of person that feels that I don't need to vote because none of this stuff is affecting me directly, if you go vote and you look at that ballot, you will see there's some things that might actually affect you and someone you know. Because I went earlier today, got up at 6 o'clock this morning. I went to my old elementary school. That's where we had to go, my area. And on the back of the ballot, it asks a couple of interesting questions. It asks, should minimum wage be increased? It asks, should straws be prohibited within state or city facilities within the range? I forgot how many feet. That was a weird question, but of course I said no to that shit. Like what?
Right.
Plastic straws or whatever. And it also asks, should pretty much all places of employment give employees 40 hours of sick days? And of course, yeah, I pick yes for that. I mean, we all got our days where, we got personal stuff, whether we sick or not. I mean, sometimes you just can't do those 8 hours. There's a lot of us center our entire day around those 8 hours because you got to prepare to go there. You got to go there, then you got to go home.
Right.
Some of us work 5 minutes away, 10 minutes away, 15 minutes away. Some of us work an hour or two away. So
Right. It's even, even if you have a problem in the legal system, there's a particular judge you're not feeling. You can vote them, vote a different way. Like especially in your local community, aldermen that's in charge of grants in your community, charge of keeping the community center up, or these people are in charge of things like that can affect you, right away. So it's so important, man, to get out there. If you're gonna be one complaining about how things going on, then it's your opportunity to change it, even if it don't go your way. The most important thing about voting, especially if you're African American in the country or a person of color, a lot of people have fought for us to have that right to take 20 minutes out your day to go vote. And a lot of people have died just for that simple thing. And it's a comedian that makes fun of voting for us. It's like, so many people fighting, for equal rights. As a black man, I'm trying to fight for civil rights. So,
exactly.
So it's like, if you can't, exercise this one little thing out your day, then, me personally, I'm still your friend, but I'm going to question your well-being.
Yeah, and it might surprise a few people that I've had debates with over the past couple of days, because I try to point out, like, on my whistleblower shit, I point out certain things, and I point out the fact, that there's evidence that certain elections or certain like politicians, sometimes it feels like the fight is fixed, but at the end of the day, I can't be 100% sure. So yeah, I do still exercise my right to vote or whatever.
Yeah, and this particular election is more, it's kind of like I said, I can't reiterate it enough. We got to change the balance of power, because I know a lot of people was upset about, the president being voted in that we have now. And, a lot of that is due to the electoral college, because he actually lost the popular vote. But he won the electoral college, which is what you need 270 electoral college votes to win the presidency.
Yeah, and a huge reason why that system is in place is because, as most of you know, I mean, you should know this if you don't. I mean, I don't know. I will leave that alone. But as you know, a lot of states are bigger than others. So if we just went by the amount of votes, I mean, you can have a state like Texas, just swaying everything in one direction. So the way the electoral college works, it goes state by state. Each one has a certain amount of points. And then at the end of the day, that ultimately decides who's the president, who wins. So yeah, Hillary won by I think 3 million votes.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I feel like I'm kind of wasting my breath, because either way it goes, that election was tampered with. It was compromised. So we never know what the hell really happened, honestly.
Yeah, and I brought that up because a lot of people feel so discouraged off of that election. Like, the person I voted for didn't get in.
And it's nothing new, because not the exact same incident happened, but you look back to when Bush, with the whole incident in Florida,
Al Gore, John Kerry.
Yeah, so this has happened several times, and it's really gonna be fucked up if it happens all over again in 2020. So I'm hoping that, as a country, whoever is in charge of making sure there's a fair campaign and fair results, I hope they get their shit together and everything goes accordingly. I mean, if Trump is meant to win, then hey, whatever. But if whoever's opposing him is meant to win, let the shit be a fair fight.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I got a good feeling about this one, man, because he's the guy just embarrassing the whole country and himself, his family, and I think a lot of people are just upset at how he's just how he's going about passing bills and doing some non-ethical things. He just don't have no morals.
Yeah, and a lot of people who don't understand politics, some of them say things like, oh well, Barack Obama didn't do this, he didn't do that. Well, you need to realize that a president doesn't have the power to just do whatever they want to do whenever they feel like it. They have people to answer to.
Yeah.
So,
And it's this one guy, this guy in office now, he definitely forgot that he's supposed to serve and not dictate. So, and hopefully, man, like I said, I got a good feeling about this because he's, according to, the 44th, Mr. Obama himself, he said this ballot, our character, the character of our nation is on this ballot. So.
yeah, and then you also have to think about the fact that a lot of Republicans want to take away what Obama established as far as health care. And we all know some, I don't know if you do, but most of the people I know someone who's benefiting from
Me
healthcare
personally.
reform.
Me personally, due to him passing the healthcare, the Affordable Care Act is the name of it, but they call it Obamacare. But some people get that confused, but it's the same thing. And I benefited as soon as he passed it and got it through. I was able to stay on my parents' healthcare insurance because I came out of college up until I turned 26. So by him, you looking for a job, and you need some type of healthcare out there. Something happened to you. So by him passing that, that meant the world. And then these same Republicans or people that's against it, I'm not gonna say they're all Republican, but people that just don't like Obama or for whatever reason is against it. These are the same people that's benefited from the Affordable Care Act, and it's kind of crazy. So
Yeah, the irony.
Yeah.
So, and I would like to point out, I don't consider myself a Democrat or a Republican. I read, I have a brain, I have a mind of my own, and I have a heart, and I go with whatever's best for me and people around me. And also, others as well. Like I don't know too many immigrants, but I'm still compassionate, and I still would like for us as a people in our media and our president to stop blaming these people for everything when there's clearly several much larger issues, and with domestic terrorism is a huge issue here right now.
Yeah.
And it's like it's swept under the rug, or it's labeled as, oh, the guy was mentally ill, and we just go on to the next one and move along. But it's most definitely a huge problem here, and it needs to stop being swept under the rug. And it doesn't matter where a person is from. Evil is evil. You got somebody who's from Mexico or from overseas, or happens to be a Muslim or whatever. It's a big deal, and oh my God, we need to create these laws and do this more and more and more. But each isolated incident becomes bigger than it is because of the person wasn't an American, while we have all of these shootings constantly happening. That was done by American citizens.
Right, and to piggyback off that, there's a famous quote out there. Nobody is born hating another human being or born racist. Like nobody on this God-given earth. Nobody's born hating the person next to you.
A lot of hatred is being taught.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I remember my son, he pointed out a character to me, and he said he thought that the character looked like me, and I told someone else about it, and they were saying like, he looked nothing like you or whatever. But my son was looking at the detail, like the features of the person. Like they were Caucasian, of course, I'm black, but he was looking at that the person had a beard and long hair. At that point, he didn't know the difference between races, and that was funny to me. And it was like, as we grow up, we all look at each other as human beings. You know what I'm saying? But eventually, some of us, all of us, know the difference. Some of us are taught some people are taught to hate people because they're different. Some people are taught to embrace it. It's a normal thing, and it should be a normal thing. Although we all different race, different colors, different cultures, we all human beings at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, also further on in this episode, we'll be talking about House of Cards. We got to talk about that since we're on the subject of politics. Netflix show. You know, this is the final season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're familiar with the show, you've been going along for the ride. There's a lot of twists and turns. I mean, I'm thinking like, I wonder how many politicians watch this show and can relate to some of this.
I'm pretty sure it has a huge fan base of politicians because the things that this guy was pulling off is kind of pretty sure probably reminiscent of a few things that we probably seen in the public eye as of late. So I can recall what's that scene where the Supreme Justice was getting voted in, and the Vice President is there. And all this protest and all this noise is outside of the chamber. They're voting the Supreme Justice in. I forgot the guy's name, but there's a scene in House of Cards that's exactly like that. So, and the show is just phenomenal, man. I've been a huge fan since 2012. And I think it actually started this binge watch streaming era that we're in. It was like the first big hit Netflix show. If you even go back and watch to the first season, you can see the different of graphics and how the Netflix logo name and change has graduated to now. But it all pretty much, derived from the show House of Cards. So I think House of Cards is the show that it's like the flagship show of all their originals, Netflix programming, and it started a lot. And I'm a huge fan of the series, man. Frank Underwood, R.I.P. man.
Oh yeah, he's most definitely a genius and one of the masters of manipulation when it comes to TV characters. Like he had a plan. He started from the bottom of the ladder and went all the way to the top.
Mm-hmm.
And there was nowhere else to go after that. So, of course, gravity took a hold of him and he went down. But he got where he wanted to go.
Right. And just as a recap, I'm going to do a brief recap of the whole series because this is season 6. It's the final season of it. So Frank Underwood is a congressman. It's played by Kevin Spacey. And as a disclaimer, by the way, to our listeners, we do not condone anything of what Kevin Spacey has been accused or have did. So,
right, which led to him not being in the final season.
Right. So anyway, he's a congressman. He was doing some stump work for the guy that's running for president nominee Walker, and that I guess the guy promised him that he was going to be Secretary of State. That did not happen. They crossed him. They even addressed that one scene in this last season. But anyway, they didn't give him the job that he thought he had. He took it to heart and he took down the president and everybody in his way. And so he came up with a plan to get power. It was all part of his plan anyway to become president, I believe. But he had to go through drastic measures to do what he had to do. And he ended up becoming the vice president in the second season. And between after the second season up to season 3, he eventually becomes the president through a lot of scheming. And from season 3 on up, he goes into battle with himself and also his wife. His wife eventually wants to get power because she's just as powerful.
And let's not forget his battle with Will Conway, played by Joel Kinnaman, who did a great job.
Yes. Yeah, and he's battled these couples because he's going up for re-election. And a famous quote that he also said throughout one of these seasons when he's going against Conway, he said, "One heartbeat away from the presidency and not a vote cast in my name. Democracy is so overrated." And I thought, man, yeah, he's not lying. So
yeah, he said a lot of things. He said a lot of memorable things throughout the show. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like when it comes to dialogue heavy shows, like you need that. And he's like whoever wrote this show, I mean, whoever helped out, whoever or whatever was improvised, they did great. They did they did a great job.
Yeah, it was like the cinematography of it, and I keep bringing it up. If you don't hear me use that word a lot, because I'm such a nerd in this filming and shows and series that we watch. I always notice how the camera is moving and how high definition the show is. There were so many features that I enjoyed and how they carried themselves and how the movement was. One of my favorite characters in the show is Doug Stamper. Uh,
Doug, poor
yeah,
Doug.
yeah, man. Doug, he was like kind of the glue of the show because he was kind of creepy like character. He did all the dirty work. He knew everybody's dirt and he used it to his advantage and to Frank's advantage to get to where he wanted.
Doug is loyal he's like next level loyal. And he's you know what I'm saying? And they had a platonic friendship.
Man,
Like it's
I was questioning because Frank, he was bisexual. So,
right.
so I was kind of questioning their relationship. They kind of drew it up as a father-son relationship, but I'm figuring, I thought, Doug was going both ways because he was showing too much loyalty and love. So, but they never really, it wasn't defined. But I wouldn't put it past if that's what it was with them too.
But you know what? I never would have thought. Okay, wait a minute. This is a massive spoiler. If you have not watched the show yet, I mean, if not show, but the final
Season 6.
season.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you haven't watched every episode of the final season up until the very last minute, you might want to pause this and just come back to it later. But I never would have thought that Doug would be the one that turned out to kill Francis Underwood.
Yeah, that
And
was a huge twist for me. I'm like, man, I'm like, all right. So it kind of making sense, but he ain't want. I think Doug was so like caught up in what they built to get. He was so caught up in the foundation, the structure, the power that they had, and he didn't want to see Frank destroy that because Doug said he was coming to the White House to kill Claire. And I'm like, you're gonna destroy everything. So I guess
that
Doug felt.
explains that also explains why he was so adamant about not taking down Francis's name. Like he was willing to not take down Claire if that meant also taking down Frank's name. So that explains why. It's like it wasn't the man, it was what he represented.
Right. And, and Frank was ruthless. That was a hell of a run from congressman to president that he pulled off. And like he said, not a single vote was cast in his name to get to where he was at.
Right.
So to pull that off, I guess in Doug's mind, that's something savoring, So, it was crazy. And Frank, he had this mindset, another cool quote, shake with your right hand, but hold a rock in your left.
Right. Be prepared for bull.
Right. So, we're going to be shooting out these quotes as we finishing up this recap here. But, man, it's just, he has some gems. And, one of the coolest things that everybody love, I think, not just me and you, but that everybody love about the show, I like when he looks into the camera and talks to the audience.
Yeah, breaking the fourth wall. Like if you're a fan of the Deadpool films, you know exactly what we're talking about. There's certain moments where the character breaks character and talks to the audience directly.
Yeah, and I've seen that done, but I can't really put into mind what show before House of Cards was doing it quite that like they were doing. But I've seen it done before House of Cards, but I can't think of any shows that was breaking that fourth wall like they were doing.
Yeah, it's been done a couple of times in different shows, and I mean it's always pretty funny. And we in this season, current season, the final one, we saw Claire do it, and we finally saw Doug do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was waiting for Doug to do it. Like, yeah, I want to see what he says to the audience.
Yeah, and they was breaking the rules, man. You know, Frank states, he said, of all things I hold in high regard, rules are not one of them. And
And sometimes you have to, man, look at it any way you want, but sometimes in life you have to live that way to get where you're trying to go.
right, and
Some people
man,
get away with it, some people don't.
and yeah, and the quotes he was in the gyms, he was dropping to the audience. You know, while he's speaking his mind, he's talking to you throughout the show. Everybody felt what he was going through and thinking, and even if he had to kill somebody or harm somebody, you know, we all got that 2-person side of us. We understood exactly why he did what he did.
Exactly.
You know, so it is what it is in that regard. Yeah, so
And
because he said, man, there's one rule that he only followed. That's either hunt or be hunted.
yeah, pray, be the predator or you be the prey.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a dog eat dog world. That's the way it works, man. Get my cliche on, but that's the way it works sometimes, man.
Yeah, there's so many
So
things I learned from the show, man. I'm such a huge fan of it. You know, I even went back and started watching the season 1 because I'm like, man, the only thing I ain't like about season 6, I ain't know who the hell were the shepherds. Like, where did they come from? And I think they threw a lot of new faces at once. I'm like, man, who are this? Who are this? So I had to figure out how the guy became vice president, how he became Claire's vice president. I seen him in the last few episodes of season 5, but I
she
forgot
had
how
she handpicked them.
okay.
And remember, Francis told her the first person that they should suggest be the vice president. Keep an eye on it.
Okay, great. Yeah, I remember her saying that because she brought it right back up.
And I think it was one of those things where keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer type of deals like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I
Yep.
mean, he wasn't exactly like trying to take her down on a level that Doug was, but I don't know. It does seem like he did kind of want to take her down, but at the same time, it was benefiting him for her to stay in the position she was until she started fucking everything up.
And him as the vice president, you know, it's funny, you know, like, you know, Frank, he also, Frank Underwood, he also stated a few seasons back, there are only 2 types of vice presidents. There's doormats and matadors. Which do you think I intend to be? So you know, I thought that was pretty dope. He said that obviously this guy he wasn't even a doormat. He was just serving. You know, like he was just doing what he was told. He didn't really have his own voice, so to
Yeah,
speak.
but it did feel like sometimes, yeah, most time he had her best interest in mind. I mean, she would be like, "Nah, fuck this.
Yeah,
I'm doing it my way."
I think he was just tired of doing ruthless stuff. You know, he just really wanted to sit back and like, man, let's just follow the agenda.
Yeah, I mean, we saw some pretty drastic changes as far as what we're used to in real life when it comes to presidents. We had the first woman president. We had not only was she the first woman president, she fired her entire staff, her cabinet, and she brought on all females to replace them.
Yeah,
And then she also ended up pregnant.
yeah, that was another big twist. I thought that was another. And it's also a con to me too, in that series because I really wanted to see for one. Wait, it was a girl, right? One of
Yeah,
the
it was a girl.
Yeah, and I wanted them to also confirm was it Frank's child, you know.
I don't
So
think it was. I bet it was not.
thought it was Tom, the guy that she was sleeping with in the last season.
Yeah, because she wasn't even having sex with Frank anymore.
Okay, so get that alone. All these questions we're asking, I thought they could have confirmed that.
Yeah, they pretty much. I have a feeling that the way it ended, people are going to push to see another season. And if you know how these streaming services work. If enough people voice wanting to get a show back, then Netflix they will listen, man. They will listen.
Yeah, I think this is part of it. You know, I don't know the numbers, but I'm pretty sure this is part of one of the most popular shows, if not the most popular show on Netflix. You know, next to Daredevil and probably Orange is the New Black. I'm not sure, but Daredevil I know is like his top show, and then it's House of Cards. So,
Yeah, and the way they left things open, it was pretty much. I mean, it was conclusive as far as the character Doug, but it really left things open as far as like what's next for Claire.
yeah.
As far as her being the president, far as her child, you know, she was planning a nuclear strike.
Yeah, that was a way to swindle the attention. But I love one of the coolest episodes I thought was you had to really pay attention to was the funeral of Kathy Durant and the Secretary of State, and during that episode, everybody is like back channeling each other and putting people into the rooms and trying to figure out what's going on, trying to push their agenda ahead. And all along, Claire, who's the president, she's just playing dumb and just going about it. And she invites the Russian president, and it was just, I thought that was one of the coolest episodes of the whole series, because you get to really see what House of Cards is all about. That one episode is really what House of Cards is all about. So it was awesome.
Yeah. If you haven't watched it, start from the beginning, check it out. I think it's a really great show, even if you're not into politics. Like it's a show that anybody can get into.
Yeah, mystery, thriller, comedy. Right. You can't beat it, man. It's a good date night. You ain't doing nothing, just pop it on and just enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
Well, one of the cool. I'm sorry, and just before we end it, one of the coolest things we gotta mention is what I loved about Frank Underwood was the Freddy's barbecue joint. He loved his ribs, and
I forgot about that. And R.I.P. to him.
R.I.P. man. And when this was on the first episode when you see him open up the store for him and eat his ribs. Freddy comes back and I ask him like, man, you want some more, Frank? He like, nah. Well, you better yet give me another rack of ribs. For some reason I'm hungry today. And next thing you know, it cuts to the scene of him just did everybody in. So
yeah, the character's name is Freddie Hayes, and he was played by the late Reg E. Cathy, and he also played the role of Luke Cage's father on season 2 of Luke Cage. Yeah. Great actor. Again, R.I.P. to him.
Well, was that season 2 or season 1? That was season 2. It was. Yeah.
Yeah, season 2. Oh, that might have been kind of a spoiler. Wait, is that a spoiler? I don't know. If it was, I apologize. You should have. If you're a Luke Cage fan, you should have watched that shit by now.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. Ended on this quote. To wrap everything up, man. It's Frank. He was just all about, man. If you don't like how the table is set, turn the table over. And never.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to stop being so humble, and you got to get out there and get your hands dirty to get where you want. Just don't make sure you doing it. You know what I'm saying, in a way where you're not fucking over good people. Because I'm not condoning, all the things Frank did. I mean, he even killed people. So no, I'm not condoning.
Right, of course. Yep, and he always said, man, you're entitled to nothing. So, man, go out there and go vote, man.
Yeah, and in closing, we just want to say, I know we all feel some type of way about certain outcomes not going the way we want them to when it comes to elections, but at the end of the day, man, a lot of those things are conspiracy theories. Some of them are facts. Take what's facts and form your own opinion and conclusion, and just go out there and vote. Mm-hmm. And just get your voice heard, man, and just hope for the best. Because sitting back and doing nothing like that benefits nobody. And it doesn't just stop at voting. And it doesn't just stop on being on social media bashing Trump all the time, because that's not going to change anything.
Yep.
Get out here, you know what I'm saying? Get behind the politicians that you do support. Do more than just vote for them. Go out there and go hard for the change you want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Get out here, start going to some of these rallies. Get out here and do some, community service work without being forced to. Get out here, maybe you can become an activist. Who knows? I mean, just give it a shot.
Yeah, and even if you don't feel like your vote or it's not gonna matter or it ain't gonna change, don't do it for you. Do it for the people that died for you to have that right. To honor their memory, because it was that having voting rights was so big, and to fight for that and to walk to a ballot and to be in line and to cast your vote for your local official, that means a lot. And even if it don't mean nothing, you just honor the people that died for you to have that right, and there's people that's dying for us today to have this right. So
yeah, and some people might not know this. This was actually in the Constitution, the 3/5 compromise, and what that is slaves, their vote was counted as they were counted as 3/5 of a human being.
Mm-hmm.
So that I don't have to go into the history of this country. It was fucked up. Slavery, Jim Crow, experiments that were legal on people of color.
Mm-hmm.
But back to the subject at hand, just, man, despite all the horrible history of this country, man, we taking baby steps and going towards progress and being a better country. And just go out there and try to get who you support in office. And it would benefit you a lot to actually do some research on these people that you vote for, instead of randomly drawing that line when you see the word Democrat. Go out there and do some research. You just might see a politician that happens to be a Republican or other that you support, that matches up with what would benefit you or what you feel is best for this country.
Right.
I'm just saying, read more, do research. Don't just go hollering, I'm a Democrat, good versus evil. Form your own opinion and go out there, get your voice heard, and that's by vote.
Please do. And man, peace and love, y'all. Man, let's get a rise and vote.
Oh, you gotta have one more good Francis Underwood quote for us.
Okay,
take us home. All
right, let's see here, man. In the words of the great Frank Underwood, man, he says, "I love that woman. I love that woman more than sharks love blood." So, man, with that passion and that love, man, use that fuel to go live your best life and go dream big, man. Let's get to it.
All right, people, y'all have a good one. Hope y'all all voted, did your thing. Let's see what these results are, and hit us up. Like I said, you can email us at undilutedpodcast@gmail.com, or you can hit us up on Facebook. I'm Jared P. Perkins. He's Mike Simmons.
Yes.
Until the next episode. Yes.
I'll let you later. Yes, sir. Peace and love.